Welcome to this explainer. Today, we're taking a really fascinating journey into the mechanics of the mystical. We're going to impartially unpack the highly structured, honestly kind of mind-bending concept of psychic projection entirely through the lens of Rosicrucian teachings. So, let's just dive right in.
It's a pretty grand question, isn't it? Is it actually possible to be in two places at once? I mean, we generally just accept that wherever our physical body is, well, our consciousness has to be there too, right? But these mystical traditions completely challenge that idea. Let's look at how they actually view the nuts and bolts, the real mechanics of transcending space.
What's really fascinating here is just how incredibly specific the Rosicrucian definition is. They don't just call it some vague out-of-body experience. No, they define psychic projection as a distinct faculty, one that allows the psychic body to project right out of the physical body, placing your consciousness on a plane that totally transcends matter. Historically, initiates who mastered this were said to possess the gift of ubiquity, literally the ability to be present everywhere. And while writers of the past often kind of misunderstood this, the initiates themselves claimed to use this precise faculty to consciously observe distant events and even act with full knowledge of the facts. It's framed as this deeply guarded mystical heritage.
But hey, before you go thinking this is just some weekend hobby you can pick up on a quick retreat, the source text actually offers a very stern warning. The teachings explicitly warn us to beware of unscrupulous people out there who use a sincere interest in mysticism to just dupe uncritical seekers. There is absolutely no mystical fast food here. Achieving this state in a matter of days, the text considers that outright impossible. Think about trying to run a marathon without any training. You wouldn't do it right? The text leans heavily into this exact idea, stating, one does not become an accomplished athlete after only a few weeks of training, however intensive it may be, even though one has the opportunity to benefit from the services of the best coach. Just like training a physical muscle, developing these true mystical faculties requires months, maybe even years, of rigorous conditioning. Time is fundamentally needed to develop the specific physical and psychological qualities required for this. It's a really strict discipline, definitely not a magic trick. Now, the source text draws a very sharp line between its own methods and the popular techniques you might stumble across in a commercial bookstore. It claims that most pop mysticism techniques are based solely on psychological principles. Those methods don't actually project the psychic body. They really just create an illusion. They often induce a state that's verging on uncontrollable self-hypnosis. The visions people see in those states, the text argues, they're usually just their own subconscious imagination, which it warns can actually cause dangerous emotional shock. In stark contrast to all that, the Rosicrucian approach claims to achieve a true duality, an actual conscious projection that's based on precise laws, and they claim it is completely safe.
So you might be wondering, why do they claim their method is so incredibly safe? Well, it comes down to three specific things. First, it relies on a precise knowledge of the laws involved. You're following a proven historical blueprint, not just blindly guessing. Second, you remain entirely conscious the whole time, never slipping into a hypnotic or subconscious state. And third, they claim this projection offers a spiritual influx. This essentially places you on a plane of consciousness that perfectly harmonizes with positive cosmic forces. In fact, the text promises that the absolute worst thing that could possibly happen to you during this exercise is simply nothing at all.
Naturally, though, a major anxiety tends to pop up here. If a part of you actually leaves, what happens to your physical shell? Does projection separate the soul from your body, leaving you vulnerable to, well, death? It's a heavy question, but the teachings completely anticipate this ultimate fear, and they address it right head-on.
The crucial point to understand here is a very critical distinction. Contrary to what a lot of popular belief says, psychic projection does not involve any separation of the soul from the physical body. Let's be clear, if your soul separated from your body, you would die. As long as you are alive, the spiritual self, which is the soul, dwells within you. Your soul stays exactly where it is, keeping the lights on and the engine running, so to speak, while only the psychic self does the actual traveling.
And this brings us to the silver cord. Think of it kind of like a cosmic bungee cord. The text defines this as an immaterial, infinitely extensible psychic link that securely connects your projected psychic body right back to your physical body. Because of its psychic nature, it's actually perceived as having a silvery color. This cord grounds you. It can stretch to infinity, allowing you to travel vast distances, all while acting as an unbreakable tether. According to the teachings, this cord is literally only ever broken at the moment of transition, or death, when the soul finally separates to rise to higher planes.
Now, the silver cord isn't just a safety rope, it actually has a really profound mechanical function. Let's break down the precise step-by-step anatomy of how this supposedly works. Step 1. The projected psychic body perceives a distant location. Step 2. The silver cord kicks in, acting as a high-speed transmitter to send those distant impressions back to your physical body. And Step 3, this is where it gets really wild. Those impressions are received by the hypothalamus in your brain, which then translates that psychic data into conscious mental reality. It's a highly structured, almost biological explanation for a completely mystical experience.
The text makes a really fascinating comparison here. It states that the silver cord essentially acts like a sensitive fiber of your cerebral spinal system. It's just operating in a higher dimension. Because all this data transmits directly to the brain, your remote psychic sights and sounds feel as hyper-realistic as if you were physically standing right there, using your normal, objective physical senses.
Okay, so even knowing the physical body is still functioning, there is usually one final classic horror movie fear that remains. Can another entity possess your physical body while you are projecting? Like, if your psychic self is out traveling around, does your physical body just become some empty vessel for the taking?
Well, the text firmly, and I mean completely, dispels this myth. Under this specific framework, possession is quite literally impossible, and they offer 3 very logical reasons for this. First, as we covered, the soul never actually leaves the physical body, so the body is never empty to begin with. Second, the sheer presence of the silver cord firmly occupying that connection makes any kind of psychic substitution completely impossible. And finally, the text states flatly that the very belief in possession mostly stems from a really poor understanding of psychological phenomena. Bottom line, you are completely secure.
As we wrap up this explainer, the text leaves us with a pretty profound paradigm shift. It asserts that the day will eventually come when you'll understand that humans are simply not bound by the limits of space. The structural mechanics we've explored today, from the psychic self to the silver cord to the hypothalamus, they all suggest an incredibly vast, totally untapped potential within human consciousness. So I'm going to leave you with this to ponder. If this framework is true, and we are fundamentally not bound by the limits of physical space, what other boundaries of human existence are simply waiting for us to transcend them? Thanks for exploring this fascinating text with me today, and keep questioning the limits of the possible.